Hi, Isabel Alexander, taking a pause here from packing and introducing the third in our series on expat working and living. These are interviews that I did with my daughter Amanda during COVID, but the content and the context is still relevant for you today if you are considering expat lifestyle or you're just curious about what it's like to live in the Middle East. Be sure to stay to the end of the interview, subscribe to our channel, and get the free download of Amanda's expert expat tips. Enjoy! We're back again and we've let our hair down. This is Isabel Banerjee in Tucson, Arizona, and Amanda Sheldon recently landed from Dubai in the UAE, now in Toronto, Canada again. We've had 2 previous episodes where we have explored what it's like to be a woman living and traveling in different parts of the world, a little bit about what the expat life is about, and a little bit about the great misconceptions about what it's like in the UAE and the Gulf region. So Amanda, we were sharing that you've just repatriated to Canada after being 10 years out of the country.
Yeah.
And you have built an extensive career background of experience moving up in operations and in management level. And now you're coming back to Canada, starting a new job. And I wanted you to compare some of the differences that you expect now.
Well, I will say my industry is retail. So there are going to be differences than working for a corporate or a private company on any side of the world. But the biggest differences, I would say, is, in the Middle East, I had a 6-day work week. It was 30 days vacation plus public holidays. So I remember my first couple of years thinking, why are they giving me so much? What am I going to do with this? Can I just, bank it and give it to somebody else? But after 10 years, I will say that's the one thing I'm going to miss the most, because that's how I was able to take all those fabulous trips around the world, because I had the time. So the repatriation and understanding, for example, that my job here in Toronto will give me 2 weeks vacation, but after 5 years I could get 3 weeks. It was a big drop. Doesn't hold a candle to what I had in the Middle East. The other, go ahead.
For you, just before we go ahead, because this may be a curiosity for other people. So you said you worked 6 days a week and you had 30 days vacation annually. So how did you celebrate? Like, did you have TGIF? What days of the week did you work?
Yes. Again, this is so normal for me that I have to transition back here. So in the Middle East, the calendar runs Sunday to Thursday as the 5-day corporate work week. And so Friday, Saturday are considered the weekend days. Friday being their religious day. So what in North America, we have Sunday to go to church. They go to the mosque for the big prayers on Friday. And that is typically for any level of workers. They all have Friday off. So it's actually quite celebratory every week in the city, because people could go out, they're out with their families doing picnics or, whatever it is that they have to do in terms of buying groceries. And then depending on what type of job you have, you would work again on the Saturday.
Okay. So most people in offices and corporate or administrative work would be working 6 days a week?
That's correct. So in my final few years, I moved up into corporate life solely. So I did have a 5-day work week. But I will say, my first few years, especially in Kuwait and then going into Dubai, I liked the 6-day work week because it gave me that opportunity to be alongside my team. You have a feeling of true rest. You know, if your job ended at 5, you leave, you're not taking the work home with you. Things are open much later there. So, you know, the mall is open till midnight, 2 a.m. sometimes during the year. Restaurants, you know, most people would dine at 9 p.m. So again, it was a very different lifestyle.
I remember when I visited you being surprised pleasantly that the mall wasn't just a place where people went and shopped and ate and left or went to the movies, but it seemed to me like a community center where families came, and it was very lovely. It was social because of that interaction. Now I
Absolutely.
guess part of it was because it's too hot outside or too dusty at times, but still it was like, well, that's a better use of real estate.
Absolutely. And, you know, malls are, gosh, every corner. So, you know, if North America has a Starbucks on every corner, the Middle East has a mall. But each mall serves a different community purpose. So, you know, often that integration of having the doctor's office plus your music center for children, the nail salon, like all of those community services are there. And for an expat, it just meant that you could do all your errands in one place and then go out and enjoy the cup of coffee, you know, with your girlfriends or colleagues afterwards as well. You didn't have to travel a lot.
Another thing I remember, it just came back to me, my fascination with the mall's parking control systems.
Yes, which I don't know if North America has adopted this yet, but you know, you actually have an app now as well in Dubai. So the sensors on the ceiling would tell you where there was an available space, and it would light up. So you didn't have to go round and round looking for an open spot. You could actually just look up at the ceiling and it would show you. And valet. So this is, I think, another thing I will miss is I valeted my car everywhere, and it was often free. And so you didn't have to worry about, you know, circling the parking lot of the pharmacy trying to find something. You just valeted and you went inside.
And there were none of those standoffs with two cars trying to get in the same parking spot or anything like that, right?
Well, it was, but you know,
Possible.
okay. You have to give graciously to the other person who's first.
Okay. All right. All right. I will do that. Um, you also mentioned the salons and the nails, and that's another great memory for me of going to the nails salons with you
Yes.
in Dubai and going, wow. Oh, by the way, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. You know,
Yes.
we're working hard. We're working hard here as women. And since we are overtime now, recording our third episode today, we've decided to reward ourselves with a glass of wine.
Cheers.
The nail salons that I experienced with you were really quite service level above anything I'd experienced in my travels. And I really wish that you could bring back that design of the chair with the pedicure and the nails and everything all together, and the lovely tea service that came with it. It's great.
I will say that especially in Dubai, 5-star service was something that every company aspired to. And I have not seen it anywhere else in the world. Like they truly go above and beyond to make a customer or a client feel valued. Whether you're buying, you know, a $1 item or a $1 million item, is the same service that's expected. So you don't go anywhere fast. So a nail appointment here, you could get in and out maybe 30 minutes in an express. If you're lucky. Whereas there, you know, I knew it was a 3-hour day because you're right. You got the tea, you got the massage, you would have somebody do your eyebrows, you'd have the mani-pedi, all from this one station.
Yeah.
And they didn't want you to go. Like they want to show how valuable you are as a customer. And that's what would keep you coming back over and over again.
Any insight into why that seemed to be the predominant practice of customer service to the, the 5-star level?
So there's several things. I think what came to mind right away is the Arab culture, and I think specifically of Kuwait and Dubai, but I'm sure it's everywhere. There is an expectation of hospitality. And so it translates or trickles down into businesses, and especially retail businesses, to make sure that somebody feels at home when they're shopping. And so brands would go above and beyond to teach customer service. And that was part of what I did, was to teach that level of service that would anticipate a need and be able to deliver before the customer really actually realized they had a need for it. And as I said, you could go to the little corner restaurant, which was a hole in the wall place, and get the same level of hospitality as going to the 7-star, hotel, where they brought you hot towels when you walked in the door. It was all the same mantra for everyone.
It'd be wonderful if that attitude would, transcend everywhere. It would be great for all businesses, I think, and certainly for all customers.
And I will say that one of the best factors to this is that hiring is universal, it's global. So a company looks for the best of the best. Or in my case, example, in retail, if we didn't find the best, we would find people from these other countries, bring them in and teach them the expectation. And we spent a lot of time investing in people's well-being and training in order to make sure that then the end result was the customer expectation or experience that was 5-star or was as close to perfect as we could get it.
I was impressed with how you used to invest in your talent, training them, supporting them to grow, develop those people. I thought that was very smart. Instead of the constant revolving door of people,
yes,
the best of the best, or as you say, building the best of the best.
The difference from North America to I guess anywhere where you go within the Middle East or Asia is these are full-time only positions. And I do think that changes someone's perspective when, as I said earlier, their livelihood and their family's livelihood rests on their employment and their progression in that employment. So it isn't a part-time job to get through university, it's a full-time position to support a family or support, building a house in their country. And so that does put a different responsibility, but also a level of pride in what they do. So we would spend time with the brands that I worked in, recognizing even small contributions to build that confidence and build that level of sense of ownership in what they could do to grow. And then again, try to internally promote as much as possible to show people movement, which then had the buy-in effect that I needed to make sure that I had a loyal staff that stayed with us.
No wonder you were content to be there for a decade, because you were building your own family and your own relationships with the people. They were your work family, right?
They truly were. I mean, I have more babies born than I can count from my staff, and being able to see people get married, or the times where they were able to sponsor their children to come live with them in the country, like all of those moments we were all together with, which is very humbling when, again, you see what you come from and what they have is so little, and yet they do so much with it.
It's very beautiful, Amanda. All right, so what else would you think that, okay, I didn't see that coming, as part of your career development?
Well, I had in Dubai the opportunity to work for several different types of brands.
Yep.
And so I think I was unprepared for the economic downturn that the Middle East hit back in 2017, the first time. And so I wasn't prepared for the idea that the country didn't have infinite wealth to spend. And so I had to change my expectations of what business looked like, and really pivot my management style to be probably more assertive than a female was expected to be, but also more assertive than my staff had ever seen me to be. So that took a learning on my part to understand, how to be aggressive to get the sales going, but also then be mindful of, as I said, that development that was so cornerstone to my values.
Oh, well, that's it. Leveling up your own skills. And as we like to say in the family, put your big girl panties on and
Yeah.
right.
I think the first time I ever said that to somebody, they kind of gave me this look like, what? So often those phrases that are so common practice to us, and I have to hold my tongue. Like, I used to have a boss who would say, "I'll poke my eye out" when staff would do something frustrating. And I remember the first few years saying that and like doing the motion, and having male staff really concerned that I was going to hurt myself, and trying to explain like, no, it's just a Southern saying. It's okay. Like, you're fine.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely there's some interpretation through language and culture that you have to be careful about, right? Sure. All right. So you just to give people kind of a sense, you've alluded to the fact that it was all immigrants mostly that were coming into the workforce, you included. Uh, in the expat sector, what countries were most of your colleagues from?
Oh, well, in our office places, often it was people from Britain or from France. So obviously the British Commonwealth helped grow that region extensively. So there's close ties to employment. I had a lot of American colleagues, but then as I went into my stores or into the brands that I managed, the majority of the staff came from the Philippines, India, Pakistan, and Nepal. As time has gone on, both governments, Kuwait and UAE, did a big push to have localization into the workplace. So, I would have one or two staff that were Emirati or one or two staff that were Kuwaiti, but it was a different expectation of them.
And that's a different episode, possibly in the future, because most North Americans wouldn't understand that sort of very segregation by nationality in terms of career ambitions and just general like expectations of working or not working, right? It was very,
Correct.
not that they weren't capable individuals, it was just not done.
Not done, and not necessarily the segment that they were encouraged. So I think there's stereotypes, and forgive me for saying this, for a lot of Indian nationals. You're either a doctor or an engineer.
Yeah.
And so in the Middle East, often, you had to be the manager or the CEO of your company as opposed to just an employee somewhere in the line. And so it was changing that mindset in these young locals, that they could enter the workforce to contribute in different ways.
Right. And what do you think required that shift? Was it an economic influence that said, okay, guys, we want, or is it because they really realized they needed to have their own people also in the infrastructure?
Um, I'm not as familiar with the politics of it, but I would say Saudi was the leader to show that they could be a self-sufficient country, which is why it's a bigger push in that particular country to have all locals working across multiple sectors. So in retail, for example, if I had female staff in my cosmetic brand, they had to all be Saudi females. There could not be an expat mixed in, because the government wanted the communities to see that they had to put roots down and actually contribute back to their country. In UAE and in Kuwait, it's a little bit different because they're a little wealthier as a nationality mix. So it's more about showing that they didn't need to be self-sufficient on expats, and that their ideas mattered so that they can contribute.
As an entrepreneur, I was very interested at that perspective. And when I visited you once, we went to a businesswomen's breakfast or luncheon meeting,
Yes.
and to learn that, you know, a lot of the local companies, uh, they were owned by the locals, but they were run by expats,
Yes.
and how there was a desire for the ownership to become more involved and more hands-on in their own businesses, because it just wasn't the way it was done before. So,
No.
yeah.
And it's fascinating because the younger generation that comes up really is very innovative and very creative, and especially in Dubai, they're fostering that environment. So a lot of the, you know, humdrum office towers have been converted into these hubs of technology that allow these younger local students to come in, work, give ideas, but then it also teaches them the business practices to run their own businesses when the time comes. So they're doing it, you know, methodically, but with the aim that more of the population will get involved across multiple sectors. I think in the service industry, it's probably going to be the last place touched. So, you know, they won't be in the construction field or the, you know, garbage collection anytime soon, but definitely across some of these bigger sectors outside of the oil and gas, there'll be a better split going forward.
Yeah, so a little higher earning potential, and
Correct.
the status level, right?
Status, absolutely.
Okay, excuse me. So you mentioned earlier, we just sort of went the mall and then we diverted away, but certainly I think that's something that many people would relate to, the stories about these phenomenal malls in the Middle East, and
Yes.
the extracurricular activities we say available at the mall. So just because, you know, we want to be fair to everybody who doesn't know yet, could you give me some examples of things that you would see at a mall in Dubai that not usually at a mall in United States or Canada?
Sure. So Dubai is known for having, you know, the world's largest everything. And, you know, my office was outside of Dubai Mall, so I had to walk there every day. We'd go for lunch there. So it became just the everyday corner mall for me. But to anybody coming into the country, it's the, you know, the biggest draw is that, you know, you've got the aquarium, which is several stories high, and you can see it from 3 different floors of the mall. You know, you would see a ski slope in one of them, you know, because all of these activities are brought indoors. The next one being built in Abu Dhabi, which is the other one of the other Emirates, is, you know, they're building a skydiving. So they're doing a mock skydiving version there, so you can go, you know, drop from the ceiling. But these are all things, again, just make it part of that entertainment. You spent the afternoon going not only to shop for your groceries or some clothing, but also to then partake in all of these other experiences.
Definitely a must see for everybody if you've thought perhaps about traveling to the Middle East. I mean, it's just an example of what you can do if you've got an imagination, a small personal fortune maybe, to build up what they have in Dubai, and to build the Palm Island, and
Yes.
to create things. Oh yes, another memory for me was Uber helicopter.
Oh, yes, which was always busy. Like you could never get it because it was always taken. So that just tells you the wealth that was there because it was a $600 ride for a kilometer. Like it was something really short.
You're all. Please call me an Uber helicopter. I need to go out for dinner.
Exactly.
All right, Amanda, thank you. Thank you again. I mean, this is just so fun and fascinating, and I hope inspiring to other people to travel the world like you have and learn about other people and just open up our aperture. All right, so one more reminder because you know the window will close soon. We have a little contest here. Amanda's challenged you to name the 7 Arab Emirates and put those in the comments below this on our YouTube channel. And she will judge and select randomly a winner. And I will mail you, no matter where you are in the world, a personally autographed copy of Who Am I Now? Feminine Wisdom, Unmasked and Uncensored. And today we've just unmasked a whole lot more feminine wisdom. So thank you for joining us.